Hey everybody, this is Kevin with Texas Yardman and More. I am making a video on how to make burger from venison. And right now I went up to my grocery store and I picked up some pork suet, pork fat. And I'm going to use that to mix in with the venison, since venison is one of those meats that is pretty lean. There's not a whole lot of fat on a venison, so I'm going to cut up this fat here and I'm going to basically cube it so that it can fill into my meat processor with no obstructions or no problems. And I'm going to cut this up, so I'm going to open these up. And this stuff is very affordable. I think I paid $5 per package of fat. Fat is real affordable. And people still use fat for different reasons. And in our case, it's to add fat content for flavoring, as well as for when it's cooking on the grill. You want it to have moisture, so that's why we're going to add this to our venison. And I've got this packaging taken off, and we're just going to start off with one of these and just kind of cut it up. And there's beef fat, and you can also cook pork fat. Cook with pork fat. With pork fat, you have to make sure that when you're cooking your hamburgers on the grill that you really cook them well, because with pork fat you want to make sure that any chance of getting sick or what have you, you have to cook pork longer. And so just make sure your burgers are well done. And that they don't have any red in them. So you want to make sure that they're cooked through. And we're just going to get these cut up into manageable size pieces so that they go into the grinder more easily. Some healthy looking fat there. And I live here in Central Texas. One of the major grocers around this area is H-E-B, and they have their own butchers on staff. It's not like Walmart where they process all their meats from a location that's not on premise. It's one of the reasons why I love H-E-B, is they have butchers that can handle any requests and so forth. And you know, even if you have questions about particular cuts of meat, you can talk to your local butcher there, and they'll give you recommendations. They'll even tell you a lot of little secrets about when certain stuff goes on sale and so forth. So make sure you're friends with your local butcher. They're quite helpful if you get to know them. And a lot of them stay working for H-E-B for quite a while. They're one of the few grocery chains that I believe offers retirement plans, and so a lot of their people are very happy working for them. And I know personally that H-E-B is very well received in the community, that they really give a lot to the people of Texas, as well as other areas where H-E-B is setting foot. And H-E-B has always been a great company. It's a very successful company. You know, it's a family-owned business where it started, I believe, in Kerrville, Texas. which is where the very first one is, and they've grown into the #1 grocer in America. I saw a report on that, and I know personally I have an HEB right down the road from my house, and I love HEB. They're a great company. Couldn't say better words about them. They treat their employees well. People that work there like working there, and they pay a competitive wage with whatever is going on in the industry. And people there really love to work for them. So just can't say enough good things about them. But the butcher gave me these 2 packages of fat, and I explained to them what it was going to be used for, and they were very accommodating. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting these up. You can see I've got them in chunks that will fit into the mouth of the grinder. You don't want them to be too big unless you have one of them grinders that will just eat up anything you throw at it. Mine's a 575 watt #8, and it's a good grinder. I like it. Haven't had any issues with mine. It's made by LEM, and I'm very happy with it. Some people, they try to save money and they buy like little cheap ones, and it's worth the money to buy a better quality one, because it's probably going to last you a lot longer, and you aren't going to get as frustrated with it when it doesn't perform. So I've been pretty happy with LEM. I know I'm kind of plugging their product, but I have no affiliation with them, but it's just my own personal preference. So I got that chopped up. I'm going to stop right there, and that's approximately 5 pounds of fat in one of those packages. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to get the venison ready and prepped, and I'll be back. All right, we're back, and I've got all of the pork fat cut up, and I just went ahead. You got to have a couple tubs to work with, and you want to keep your one that has your meat in it, and you want to have your other tub that you're going to transfer the meat and the fat into. And I've got one here. You can purchase these at any like outdoor store, retailer. In my case, it's Academy Outdoor and Sports. And got all my fat here. I separated to the right side, and I'm going to start cutting up some of the venison into manageable sized chunks. And I've got a big tub over here. Bring the camera over here so you can see. I've got a big tub of venison that I rough cutted from the I guess the first round of cutting up the animal, processing it. And so here's the rough cuts with most of the fat trimmed off of it. And so I'm going to cut that up into more manageable sizes. And I'm going to set the camera over here. And you're just simply going to take a piece of meat, and I've got some knives, and you want to cut this up into manageable size pieces here. Almost kind of like stew meat. And in this case, I'm making burger. So this is all going to get ground up, and these chunks of meat are going to turn into burger. So make sure if you come across any kind of hairs or anything like that, you want to make sure you cut that out. And you're going to keep on doing this until you get yourself a nice big pile of venison. And then you're going to transfer it into that tub until you have it all cut up. And with this deer, I obviously keep certain parts of the animal that are the choice parts, like the back straps and the tenderloins. I save those for just eating them as a steak or cutting them up into chunks where you can put them on skewers or what have you. And you want to save those pieces for that. So you don't want to cut those up and make burger out of them. You can, but those are the choice cuts of the animal, and you want to save those. Those are the best parts. And you can see some of this meat has fat content on it, and you want to make sure that you know, most of the fat is cut off, because that's kind of where you get the gamey taste, is from the fat of the deer. So make sure you cut most of it off. It's okay if you leave a little bit, and you might even come across some pieces with the silver skin. I can deal with that as long as it's not a whole lot. And some of these pieces have a little bit of silver skin on them. But I'm just going to keep working through this pile of meat, and I'm going to come back and show you when I get ready to grind this, and then we're going to turn it into burger. So you can see, get a good stack of meat going there, and I'll be back. Okay, we're back, and I've got my grinder set up. This is the LEM grinder. It is the 570 watt, and it comes with two diameter plates. We have 5/16, and then we have the larger coarse plate. I think it's well, there's 3/16 and 5/16. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and use the larger one of the two, and we're going to go ahead and put that on here. And you always want to start out with the larger one, and you just simply screw this on, and then that moves that plate in there nice and tight. And I've got all of my meat cut up that I'm planning on making burger out of, and I've cut them up into nice manageable sizes to fit down in this hole right here. Looks to be about 1.5 inches to 2 inches in diameter, and then that is going to come out of the coarse plate right there. And over here I have my fat. So we're going to mix that in with the hamburger. I'm going to start with just doing the hamburger right now, and then we're going to see if I can get a good angle here. And then we're going to go ahead and do the fat afterwards. So let's get this started. we're going to go ahead and show you what it comes out looking like. And you can see it's got a nice burger texture. And we're just going to finish doing the rest of this tub, and then we'll come back and show you the mixing it in with the fat. And we're back, and I finished grinding all the burger. We ended up having 21 pounds of burger, and so I'm going to do 20% fat ratio. So I'm going to put in 4.25 pounds of pork fat, and then we're going to mix it into this. So I am going to come over to here, and I've got that tub ready full of pork fat. And I'm going to go ahead and that came in five-pound packages, so I'm just going to go ahead and do the whole 5. It'll have a little extra fat content in this, but we'll go ahead and add this. So there you have the gist of it. This is what your pork's going to look like, and this is with the coarse plate. And we're going to go ahead and finish up the rest of this pork. Then we're going to mix it in. And we're here, and I finished grinding up all the fat. It was about approximately 5 pounds or so. I have a scale over here. And if you don't have a scale, I highly recommend you get one. This one's an analog scale. They're fairly affordable. You can pick them up for 20 bucks. But it's definitely helpful to have one of these when you're making burgers, so you can weigh out your different burger, you know, when you're packing it and getting it ready for the freezer. You definitely want to get a scale, and it's also good for when you're grinding hamburger to get a total accumulation of all the burger that you have. And I have it, like I said, about 21 pounds, and so I like a 80-20 ratio. So I've got about 5 pounds of fat here. It's a little more than 20%, but that's okay. It acts as a binder, and it also adds flavor to the burger. So this is what it looks like, coarsely ground, and I'm going to go ahead and add it to the burger over here. And the burger's in that tub right there. And so I'm going to go ahead and add this and get that all mixed in there. And that looks perfect for the amount. Hopefully you can see in the tub. I'll pick up the tub and show you. So we have all of our burger in there, coarsely ground, and then we have our fat in there, and we're just going to go ahead and mix this up now by hand. And some people do it differently. They may mix the two while it's going through the grinder. I find it easier just to do it this way, just to get in there and work it with your hands, get it to a nice consistency, and it's fairly easy to do. So and when you're cooking these on the grill, that fat is going to be helpful. It helps to bind the venison, and it, once it hits that heat, the fat begins to render into the venison meat and gives it that flavor. And so you definitely want to add either beef fat or pork fat. Some people like to do beef because they like their burgers to be a little more rare, and it's okay with beef to eat beef a little more rare, but with pork you really have to cook the burgers because of the warnings that we always hear about cooking pork completely. So you're going to get a more well done burger. And this is mixing in very nicely. It's got that marbling look like you would see in a steak, and this is going to be fantastic. Can't wait to try one out on the grill. And that's got a great consistency. And you could really even leave it at this consistency and not run it through the grinder, because I'm looking at it here and this burger is just mixing in nicely. I'm going to try grinding it though, just to kind of see the difference. But this is just like as if you were making a meatloaf. This looks fantastic. It's adhering. That fat is nice and greasy. But like I said, it's a 80-20. So you got a really good ratio of meat compared to the fat. It's like 1/5 of the actual meat content. And this looks fabulous. So I'm going to show you what it looks like once you get that all mixed up. So there you go. With the 5 pounds plus the meat, you got about 26 pounds of hamburger here. Which will be, for me, a perfect amount. And I'll put these in freezer bags, and I usually do 1 pound increments, and I'll show you that after I get this all ground up. I'm going to go take it to the 3/16 plate, which is that size right there, and I'm going to run it through all this through the grinder again just to get it into a finer grind. And I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back and show you. And we are finished with the finer grind that we did, and this burger looks beautiful. I like the consistency of it. It's the same consistency that you would see in a grocery store. It refines it really nice when you use the 3/16. So definitely glad I did that. You could leave it as a more coarse grind, but I decided to do it this way, and I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator overnight just to cool it. And then tomorrow I will probably package it. So I've got freezer bags that I do that with. Some people use game bags, but I'm going to go ahead and use freezer bags. That way I can get them to the 1 pound consistency, and then I'll show you how I do that. And then for your other cuts of meat, like I mentioned earlier, these are the larger steak size. You could even make a roast out of some of these. I like to keep the choice cuts for steaks, roasts, and I also love to make my own jerky. And I'll probably make a video on how I do that, but I like to use these choice parts of the animal for jerky, steaks, and roasts. So more to that in a different video, and I will be back tomorrow when I package the hamburger.